Today we are going to be peering into the past again. I have had this iron in my quilt room for quite some time. When I was a young girl, it sat on a bookcase that held my mother's antiques, and I used to have to dust that big bookcase with all that glassware on it. But this sat on there. Now please know I am not a historian, and I gathered today's information off of hopefully reliable sources on the internet, but I just wanted to share some of the historical bits of information I found with you. Now this iron has always intrigued me. I never knew really what it was. I don't know where my mother got it, but it's been around for a long time. I'd like to know if any of you have one of these in your quilt room. And if you have, please tell me all you know about it. Did it belong to your grandmother? Did you buy it in an antique store? What do you know about the iron if you have one of these? Again, please share that in the comments below. The first thing I want to tell you is these are called sad irons. Now, it's not the sad as in unhappy. This is sad. These sad irons, sad in Old English meant solid, and these are solid and they're heavy. These are also called flat irons. Now, I thought this was interesting. The Chinese were the first ones to use any type of ironing, and what they did, they used metal pans with hot coals in them, and they ran them across fabric that was just stretched. So I thought that little tidbit of historical information was interesting. Blacksmiths began forging flat irons in the late Middle Ages, and those irons were heated by a fire or on a stove, and they were handled with heavy layers of cloth because unlike this one that has a wooden handle, they just had iron handles. Now in the description below, I've put a few videos down there that will show you a little bit more about the irons from somebody who knows more about irons than I do. So if you're interested in some more historical information, you can check out those videos. Now in large households that had servants, they had special stoves that heated the irons. And I thought that was interesting, a stove just for irons. But in order to be efficient, you needed more than one iron, because when one iron got cold, you needed to be able to pick up another one, and that was hot. So I thought that was interesting. Now, of course, being able to monitor the temperature of those was extremely important. You had to know how to judge the temperature so that you didn't scorch the fabric, yet it had to get hot enough to press the wrinkles out. Now, of course, these irons had to be kept clean so they didn't get stuff on the cloth that they were ironing, and they had to polish these and sand them. And this is very, very smooth. In one source, it said that they used beeswax to put on the bottom of the iron so that it didn't stick to the starched fabric. This iron says Mrs. Potts Sad Irons. Now this is an interesting story. This has a removable handle, and this was sold with one wooden handle and typically 3 bases. Florence Potts patented this is called a cold handle sad iron. And it's a cold handle because the handle is made of wood, and this handle didn't get hot. And it could be easily unattached or attached. I always wondered what this was for when I would dust it when I was a kid, and now I know. Florence Potts patented this when she was, I don't know, some sources said 19, some said 20. She may have actually had more than one patent, but these were sold by the millions. Other manufacturers began making these irons that had removable handles also. Those could be ordered by through mail catalogs that were sold by Sears and Roebuck's. So in 1870 to 1871, she patented this. They were manufactured clear up to 1953. I forgot to say also that these were typically sold with 3 bases and a trivet to set the hot iron on. Now these bases were sometimes called shoes, and again, one handle came with 3 shoes. So when one shoe got cold, it was put back on the stove to heat up, and a new hot shoe was put on the handle. I thought this little tidbit was interesting too. They used to make child-size flat irons, and children would learn to iron they would learn to iron by practicing with those mini irons on their doll clothes. That is how children learn to iron from a very early age. My first episode of Peering into the Past was done over some information I learned about these antique wooden spools. Now these were manufactured during the Industrial Revolution. And I recently just ran across a movie called North and South, starring Richard Armitage and Anna Maxwell Martin. And I thought this was interesting because this movie is about the textile mills. During the movie, you could see the cotton mills and how they ran a little bit, and I thought it was interesting. I kept wanting to get more close-up views because that's where these were used. So if you're interested in watching that movie, it was kind of a fun one. It was about the textile cotton mills in England. It's considered to be drama, historical, as well as romance. So you might watch that if you're interested in seeing what the inside of a mill looked like when people were working in it. In the comments below, don't forget to tell me if you have one of these and what you recall about it if you have one. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, have fun quilting.